This is Sky Sports, a part of the British Sky Broadcasting Network.
This week on NHRA Today, divisional racing kicks off in Cajun country, while Bruce Allen shows his skill as a double-duty driver. A funny car racer has a formula for fun and taking to the track with true muscle power. From Firebird International Raceway, side of the Motorcraft Ford Nationals, these stories and more on this edition of NHRA Today. Last weekend, the sun shone brightly on the season-opening Winternationals at Pomona, California, illuminating one of the most thrilling events in memory. Few will forget Mark Oswald's literal blazing of the Fairflex with the quickest and fastest run in history during testing. Or the emergence of Warren Johnson's son Kurt as a driver who is a chip off the Olds block. Or the incredible Top Fuel final in which Kenny Bernstein wrote out a violent incident only to walk away unscathed in vivid testimony to the strength and safety of the modern Top Fuel dragster. If this is a sample of the thrills in store for the coming season, then bring it on. Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of NHRA Today. I'm Steve Evans. Boy, last weekend in Pomona was a wild one. So in the next half hour, we'll have some more flashbacks and highlights. Plus, we'll take a look at the activities of the next event on the NHRA calendar, the Motorcraft Ford Nationals. But first, boy, it's been a while since I've said this. How does that go? Oh, yeah. Let's find out what's hot. Only weeks into the season, there is news about Top Fuel crews. Tim Richards' tenure with Austin Racing ended before qualifying at Pomona, and Frank Bradley has come aboard as a coach and tutor.
We're not asking Frank to have us set the world on fire. We're having him to look over us, help us out with whatever he thinks we need to change.
Over in the Don Prudhomme camp, Larry Dixon Jr. will be leaving the team to follow in the footsteps of his father behind the wheel.
I'm finally going to get a chance to drive a car for a guy named John Mitchell. Had a car Tony Petragon drove for, and it's kind of something I've always looked towards doing and kind of set my life up for this point, and I'm finally going to get a chance to do it.
And finally, the man who guided Jim White to funny car speeds over 290 miles per hour, Roland Leong, is returning to the sport with support from the 50th state.
It's the project of the Hawaii Business Bureau and the sports department of the Department of Economic Development and Tourism.
And that's what's hot. Shortly after eliminations began last Saturday, the Slick 50 300-mile-an-hour club got its second member. Doug Herbert joined Kenny Bernstein in the triple-century stratosphere. Just the latest accomplishment by a young man who has turned into a superb racer. In fact, it was a year ago that Doug made his first ever final round appearance.
Last year in Phoenix was a real memorable occasion. We left Pomona and had been running real well, and we went down to Phoenix and qualified in the 4-second range after getting past first round, second round, semifinal round, going to the final round were really a lot of tension, but a lot of excitement. Being our first final, it was, you get up there and I had butterflies in my stomach and being real nervous, racing against Pat Austin, so there's a lot of pressure on to make sure you leave the line on time, racing against Pat, because, he's a good driver. It was a race that we'll remember for a long time. We go up there to the final round, hit the throttle, and the cable broke, so pretty much anticlimactic into what was a pretty good weekend in Phoenix.
One of the key members of Doug Herbert's crew is Pete Wachowski, also known as Hot Wheels. Despite being confined to a wheelchair, Pete is actively involved in drag racing. Now, last weekend in Pomona, some all-star wheelchair athletes tried their hand in a unique competition. In addition to the awesome display of drag racing action, this year's Winternational spectators were treated to something a bit different. World-class wheelchair athletes from all over the country met in Pomona for the first ever true muscle wheelchair race.
We've got racers here from Virginia, from Oregon, from Southern California. They all have records of some type. They all compete regularly. They're really excited about it. Our next event, we hope to increase the amount of racers.
As most of the wheelchair entries normally train for long distance, the 8-mile sprint offered a different challenge.
We're mainly a distance kind of running team, but sprints or something like that, this in front of so many thousands of people, you can't help but to come.
Normally I do the road racing, and this just kept on going about another 15 or 20 miles. I'd be real comfortable.
Really a neat avenue to compete in. It's really appropriate. It's perfect venue for it. I mean, it's the same thing, straight line drag race, and it's really exciting being able to compete in an event of this magnitude.
Plans for future NHRA wheelchair races are underway for other national event sites later this year.
The events that we are speaking about are Atlanta, Gainesville, Florida, and Indianapolis. And everybody who is in on planning and organizing and trying to make this work is really excited about that. NHRA is wonderful. They're wonderful to work with.
The Winternationals fans witnessed a truly inspirational display of racing. But make no mistake, these are totally dedicated and highly competitive athletes. Plus, with these racers, earplugs are optional. Those gentlemen are indeed superb athletes, but I think their greatest strength is their heart and their spirit. At first glance, last Saturday's Pro Stock final seemed to be a case of snooze and lose, as Scott Jeffrion had a terrible reaction time in his loss to Warren Johnson. But it turns out the line lock had broken, forcing Scott to work 3 pedals with 2 feet. Not easily done. Here now to tell us more about Pro Stock foot controls is the newest member of the NHRA Today team, Frank Hawley, with the first of his weekly Fastbacks.
Most drag race cars equipped with electronic ignitions have an RPM limiter. The purpose is this: the driveline fails, the engine won't rev beyond a preset RPM limit. A lot of cars, like Mark Powick's Pro Stock car, are equipped with a 2-step RPM limiter with a low side and a high side chip. The low side chip is activated by this switch underneath the clutch pedal. When he stages, Mark depresses the clutch pedal, which activates this switch, and he can push the accelerator all the way to the floor, leaving it wide open throttle, but still control the RPM with which the car leaves the starting line. On a good track, they're going to put a higher RPM chip in the low side, and that'll give them a better launch off the starting line. The track's a little bit slippery, they may adjust that, and a lower number might be better. What sort of range do they have for these chips? Well, depending on the driver, they'll leave the starting line anywhere from 7,000 to 8,500 RPM.
Well, I'll tell you, the Pro Stock guys do stay mighty busy using their hand-eye coordination to drive straight and true. And right now, Dave McClelland introduces us to a racer who specializes in straight drives on and off the track.
It's hard to choose what Bruce Allen is better at, racing Pro Stock or playing golf.
I'm so stupid. Instead of playing with the best guy out here, you should play with the worst, and then it makes you look better.
Playing with friend and golf pro Dave Whitt, Bruce holds his own.
Off the tee, just like that. That's perfect. I'll just take mine out there and put it right with Dave's. No good. A little fat, a little cart path. Oh, well.
And even while enjoying a relaxing round of golf, Bruce is reminded of the parallels between this and racing.
Basically, when you get in the car and buckle up, close the door, it's one-on-one. It's you against whoever you're racing. Golf, it's you. So, you against the course, really. This is not one of my favorite driving holes here. Nice. I'm not playing that one. I'll tell you right now. Throw me another ball. This right here would be like pulling up to run Warren Johnson or Bob Glidden when they have about a 2 tenths on you. Not much fun. Nothing to it. Just another birdie.
And like the improvements in his golf game, Bruce's racing career, which actually began in Michigan, advanced class by class, 1 round at a time, until 1985, when he and his wife Deb moved to Texas and teamed up with David Rare and Buddy Morrison.
We have a good time. We're starting to have more fun racing. It was for a while there where we didn't have as much fun and we can kind of ground on it. It was a little bit of a struggle, but I think we're doing a little bit better and starting to have more fun. That'll work.
And improvement is something that Deb Allen also strives for when teaching her special education students at the Cookin Education Center in Arlington, Texas.
It's special working with these kids because when they do something, it's just all that much better. When you see them actually do something or realize that something's going on in their environment, you'd realize that they can do some things. And it is worthwhile for them to be here, and they are learning.
I've got a car, it's made of tin. No one knows what shape it's in. Got 4 wheels and a running board. It's a 4-door, it's a Chevy.
And in both cases, it just goes to show that hard work does pay off.
Good, all right.
When it comes to racetrack hospitality centers, the buck just stopped here with Kenny Bernstein's brand new custom-built 40-foot marathon coach. Come on aboard. I've got it all to myself for the next minute or two. Is this elegance on wheels? The interior was designed by Bernstein's best gal, Cheryl Johnson. All the furniture is rich Corinthian leather. We've got a mirrored ceiling here with an ultra suede headliner. The carpet was custom woven at the Marathon Factory in Eugene. There's a nice bath and shower, which I shall duck into to let the camera go by. To my favorite part, the aft section of the coach. This is a media/conference center. It's got a huge television set, and how about the flower pot in the center of the table? There's 4 of those on board, a hole punched in a Simpson helmet. Now, Kenny is a businessman, we all know that. So it is equipped with a fax machine and 5 telephone lines.
Think about a half a dragster out and stay with him. Don't let off and let him pass you back. Stay with him and keep on.
It's FA Cup week.
Welcome back, everyone. Many of the sportsman racers in action at the Motorcraft Ford Nationals in Phoenix this weekend were also in action last week, either at Pomona or the Division IV curtain racer in Louisiana. Now, here are the winners of the Cheap Auto Parts Winter Nationals. Congrats to all of them. And here is Bob Fry with a report on the Battle of Baton Rouge, or in English, Red Stick.
State Capitol Dragway in Baton Rouge, Louisiana was the scene of a lot of firsts last weekend. This Division IV race kicked off the 42-event Winston Drag Racing Series that is scheduled throughout North America this year. And being numero uno on the racing calendar, it marked the first time that Junior Dragster was included as a regular part of a divisional event. Now, for comp racers Steve Benoit and Richie Stevens, it was also the first time that both of their sons were racing at the same event in which they were competing. And that meant double duty for dear old Dad.
Well, he's just learning, so Dad's trying to do both sets of chores, you know, doing my car and doing his car at the same time.
Junior says, oh, Dad, we need more power, so we're changing motors and adding power as he needs it, and he's getting used to the car, so we're going to give him a little bit more, see if he can go a little quicker.
After both fathers had qualified in comp eliminator, it was time to discuss race strategy with their sons.
Going down 13 flat. Give yourself a 300 cushion. Okay.
I'm going to leave your same dial in. You just cut the same light you just done.
In the first round of Junior Dragster, Steve Benoit did a great job, but there was just one little problem.
Broke out by 3 tenths. Can you imagine? 3 tenths.
By the second round, the Stevens crew had everything dialed in right for the #1 qualifier in hopes of making it all the way to the finals.
Get out of it. Get out of it. Hey! You got out of it.
By Sunday morning, both dads were spectators as their comp cars fell victim to mechanical problems.
We got a spare motor for him, but we ain't got a spare motor for me. So we'll get it ready for next week.
The Junior Dragster final pitted Richie Stevens against Jonathan Johnson in the near lane. And this one was over in a hurry when Johnson fouled out.
So he done better than Daddy did, huh?
Yeah. I got to live with this, but hey, it's worth it. I think it's going to be good for all the kids and all the families and everything, you know. That's fine, bud. Good job.
Those red lights, that's racing.
And speaking of red lights, in the Super Gas final, we had red lights aplenty as Alan Savage and Gary Burrows in the far lane lit up the Christmas tree in red. Savage gets the win due to the fact that he was the last one to foul out.
That was my lucky day. We both red lit, but he red lit first, so I got the win. This is my first win, and I'm very excited.
There were 3 other first-time winners in Baton Rouge, and now here are the rest of the winners from Division 4. For NHRA Today, I'm Bob, always first in fun, Fry.
At the Winternationals back in 1986, Lou Gasparrelli captured his first national event win. But despite being one of the West Coast's toughest alcohol funny car competitors, a second win proved elusive. That is until last week, when Lou overcame both adversity and 2 Winston champions to claim another Winternationals title.
I don't know what to say about Lou Gasparrelli. He was operated December 17th for cancer. He's been taking radiation treatments every day. He hasn't ate in 2 weeks. He wants to win.
Given the dramatic circumstances, Lou's ability to control his emotions at the start line are almost as impressive.
I've figured out a way that I can keep myself calm, and I'm comfortable with it. I mean, it doesn't bother me, at least as much as it used to.
John Force's Winternationals win a week ago was, quite honestly, lucky. You see, in round number 1, he was beaten to the finish line by Whitt Bazemore's incredible 5.11. But Whitt was disqualified for crossing the center line. He definitely had his hands full steering that car. But that's not unusual for a guy who spends his spare time wheeling formula cars.
During the winter off-season, Whitt Bazemore was back on the track, but this one had curves.
This is actually where I started racing back in 1985. Attended the Skip Barber School and then entered and raced in 4 Skip Barber race weekends, which is what this is this weekend.
After each race session, every driver was critiqued by instructors stationed all around the track. Whitt was lucky. The chief instructor at the Skip Barber Formula Ford School was a drag racer too. Terry Earwood has some NHRA Superstock wins on his resume, so he knew exactly what to look for when Whitt came through the turns.
Drag racers make good road racers because drag racers deal in exit speed coming off the line. We deal in hundredths and in tenths of a second, and road racers deal in seconds. So we know how critical it is that no lost motion. You've got to squeeze the throttle down. You've got to get off the corners. You can't have any lost motion. So that's why we make good road racers. Whitt has learned the discipline of knowing when to go slow because he didn't have to corner very much.
For me, the toughest part of the track is the slow part, which is turns 2 and 3 called the carousel, and those are first gear turns. It's a 180-degree turn, and the cars, they just don't stick. You know, sliding the car loosely at speed is not that big a deal for me because a funny car is always loose a lot of times, and so that's a feel that you acquire. You get used to it, and it doesn't seem to bother me that much. But the slow turns, getting the power down smoothly, and getting the car turned and what they call rotated properly, that's the hardest part.
On the last day of the 3-day competition course, a 25-lap race was staged around the tough 9-turn Sebring Road course. Whitt led for 4 of the 25 laps and turned in the fastest lap of competition. Unfortunately, Whitt had problems in one of the turns and wound up 7th overall, but that didn't dampen Bazemore's spirits.
My goal was to just be clean, survive the race. I was real clean, smooth, feel real good about it.
For all of us here at NHRA Today, I'm Steve Evans. So long until then.
NHRA Today is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.